My girlfriend said if I loved her I'd fight for her, so when she packed a suitcase I let her walk. She called it a test and said I failed because I didn't beg, didn't chase, didn't lose control when she threatened to leave. What she didn't know was that I had already chosen her in the quietest way possible, non-refundable plane tickets, months of saving, a future she never saw coming. Now everyone thinks I didn't care, and I'm sitting with a secret that could change everything. Hi, I'm Daniel, I'm 29, and last Friday my girlfriend looked me dead in the eyes and said, if you really loved me, you'd fight for me. I didn't. And that's apparently when everything broke. We were standing in her kitchen. The overhead light was too bright, buzzing like it wanted to escape. She had her arms crossed, phone clutched in her hand like evidence in a trial. I already knew what was coming. I could feel it in the air, thick, rehearsed, almost scripted. She told me she wasn't sure about us anymore. Not because I cheated. Not because I lied. Not because I stopped caring. But because I didn't chase her enough. She said she felt like she could disappear tomorrow and I wouldn't even try to stop her. That stung. Because I've always been the steady one. The guy who shows up. The guy who fixes the sink at midnight, who remembers her coffee order, who drives across town when her car won't start. I thought consistency was love. Apparently, it wasn't dramatic enough. She started listing things. How I didn't get jealous when she mentioned her coworker. How I didn't blow up her phone when she went out with friends. How I didn't fight when she said she needed space last month. I respected it. I thought that's what grown adults do. But to her, my calm felt like indifference. Then she said it. Maybe we should just break up. There it was. The line in the sand. And I remember this weird clarity washing over me. Not panic. Not rage. Just this quiet realization that I was being measured against some invisible test I didn't even know I was taking. I asked her one simple question. Is that what you want? She hesitated. Just a flicker. But I saw it. She wanted me to argue. To grab her hands. To say no, absolutely not, I can't lose you, please don't do this. She wanted a scene. Proof that I'd lose control for her. Instead, I said, if you think breaking up is best, I won't stop you. Her face changed instantly. Shock first. Then anger. So that's it. You're just giving up. I wasn't giving up. I just don't believe love should be negotiated under threat. I told her I don't fight people to stay. I fight with people to solve problems. There's a difference. She accused me of not caring enough. Of being emotionally unavailable. Of being too calm. Too rational. Too stable. It felt surreal. Like I was on trial for not being chaotic. The silence after that was heavier than any argument we'd ever had. She waited. I could see it. She was still expecting me to crack. I didn't. So she walked into the bedroom and started packing a bag. And here's the part that still twists in my chest, I didn't follow her. Not because I didn't love her. But because I refused to beg someone to choose me. When she rolled her suitcase past me, she stopped at the door. This was a test, she said. And you failed. The door clicked shut behind her. And for the first time that night, my hands started shaking. The second the door closed, the apartment felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. Like the air itself was waiting for something dramatic to happen and got disappointed when it didn't. I stood there for a full minute staring at the door, half expecting it to swing back open. For her to come back in and say, okay, fine, you win. Or maybe laugh and admit it was all stupid. It didn't. Her car started outside. The engine faded. And just like that, 3 years of my life drove away. I sat down on the couch and stared at my phone. No messages. No dramatic paragraph. No, I can't believe you didn't stop me. Nothing. And that silence. That's when the doubt started creeping in. Maybe I should have said something bigger. Maybe I should have grabbed her hand. Maybe love sometimes does require a little irrationality. I replayed the whole conversation in my head like game footage. Every pause. Every breath. That half-second hesitation when I asked if she really wanted to break up. That was the moment, wasn't it? That was my cue. But here's the thing no one talks about: when someone says they want to leave, you don't know if they mean it or if they're fishing. And I refuse to gamble my dignity on guessing games. Around midnight, my phone finally buzzed. My heart jumped so fast it actually hurt. It wasn't her. It was her best friend. Did you seriously just let her walk out? I stared at the message for a long time before typing back. She said she wanted to break up. 3 dots appeared instantly. You were supposed to fight for her. There it was again. Supposed to. Like there was a script I missed in rehearsal. I asked, did she tell you this was a test? No response for a full minute. Then, she just wanted to see if you'd choose her. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it felt absurd. I chose her every single day. Quietly. Consistently. Without theatrics. But apparently love now needed volume. I didn't reply after that. Instead, I opened our text thread. 3 years of messages. Memes. Grocery lists. Random, I miss you, texts sent during work breaks. And suddenly I realized something uncomfortable. Every time we had a disagreement, she'd escalate it. Threaten to leave. Say, maybe we're not right for each other. And every time, I'd respond calmly. I'd reassure. I'd fix. This was just the first time I didn't. Around 2 a.m., she finally texted. One sentence. I can't believe you didn't even try. I stared at it until the screen dimmed. I typed out 10 different responses. Deleted all of them. Because what do you say to someone who leaves and then blames you for letting them? Finally, I wrote. I thought you wanted me to respect your decision. She read it immediately. No reply. The next morning, I woke up to an Instagram story of her out at brunch with friends. Smiling. Captioned, know your worth. That one hit deeper than I expected. Because now it wasn't just between us. Now it was a performance. And I was cast as the villain who didn't care enough. By noon, 2 of our mutual friends had texted me. Dude, what happened? You really didn't fight for her. I realized something in that moment. This wasn't just a breakup. This was a narrative. And I was losing it. But what nobody knew, what she definitely didn't know, was that I had actually been planning something for her that week. Something that would have made it impossible to question whether I was choosing her. And now, I was sitting alone with a secret I didn't know what to do with. The secret was sitting in my email. Subject line, reservation confirmed, October 14th. 2 plane tickets to Italy. Non-refundable. I'd booked them 3 weeks earlier. Late at night, after she'd fallen asleep on my chest talking about how she'd always wanted to see Florence in the fall. She'd said it casually, like a dream you throw into the air just to see if it floats. I caught it. I saved for months. Skipped trips with friends. Took extra freelance work. I even sold my old guitar, the one I'd had since high school, to cover the difference between economy and premium seats because she hated long flights. I was going to surprise her on our anniversary. Candlelight dinner. Envelope across the table. The whole cliché. Apparently, I'm not dramatic. Just, quiet. When her Instagram story popped up again that afternoon, another smiling selfie, another vague caption about choosing yourself, something in me shifted. Not anger. Clarity. She thought I didn't choose her. Meanwhile, I had literally chosen her over my own hobbies, my own savings, my own comfort. And she never knew. My phone buzzed again. Her. Did you ever even see a future with me? I looked at the email confirmation again before replying. Yes. That was it. 3 letters. Because if I started explaining, it would sound like I was trying to win. And I was done competing in a game I didn't sign up for. A minute later she called. I let it ring once. Twice. 3 times. Then I answered. She didn't say hello. She said, why aren't you upset? I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. I am upset. You don't sound like it. That was the problem. She measured emotion by volume. By intensity. By chaos. I'm just not going to beg you to stay, I said. There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing. Uneven. I wanted to know you'd fight for me, she said, softer now. I was building something with you, I replied. Not fighting you. Silence. And then she said something that hit harder than anything else that week. My ex would have never let me leave like that. There it was. The comparison. Suddenly it all made sense. The coworker mentions. The space test last month. The subtle jabs about how I was too calm. She wasn't testing whether I loved her. She was testing whether I would react like someone else. I swallowed, keeping my voice steady. I'm not your ex. I know, she snapped. That's the problem. And just like that, the ground shifted under everything I thought we were. She didn't want stability. She wanted turbulence that proved intensity. Drama that felt like passion. And in that moment, I realized something brutal. If I had chased her down the hallway, grabbed her suitcase, argued, pleaded, she would have felt validated. But I would have betrayed myself. I looked at the email one last time. Florence. October 14th. A future she thought I'd never imagined. I closed the laptop. And for the first time since she left, I felt the weight lift just a little. Because the test. It wasn't about love. It was about control. And I think we both just learned something neither of us was ready to admit. After that call, something inside me went quiet. Not numb. Not cold. Just, settled. Like when a storm finally passes and you realize the sky was always capable of being blue again. But the outside world didn't get that memo. By the next day, the narrative had grown legs. One of her friends posted a vague tweet about men who don't fight for you. Another mutual unfollowed me. My phone kept buzzing with versions of the same question. Did you even try? It was wild how quickly people assumed I hadn't. No one asked what she said. No one asked how many times she'd threatened to leave before. No one asked what it feels like to be told you're failing a test you didn't know you were taking. They just assumed silence equals indifference. That night, she showed up. No warning. No text. Just a knock at my door around 9:30 p.m. I opened it, and there she was. Mascara slightly smudged. Eyes red like she hadn't slept much. For a split second, my chest tightened. Familiarity is dangerous like that. I just needed to talk, she said. I stepped aside and let her in. She walked around the apartment like she was checking if I'd erased her already. Her mug was still in the cabinet. Her shoes still by the door. I hadn't moved anything. You really didn't call me, she said quietly. You told me you were leaving. I wanted you to stop me. There it was again. Expectation. Script. I took a breath. You wanted me to override your choice. She shook her head. I wanted to feel wanted. You are wanted, I said. You just don't trust that unless it's loud. That landed. I could see it in her face. She sat down on the couch, hugging a pillow like armor. Why does it seem so easy for you? She asked. It's not easy, I said. It's just not chaotic. She looked at me for a long moment. Studying. Measuring. Do you even miss me? That question cracked something. Of course I do, I said. But missing you doesn't mean I'll compete for you. Her jaw tightened. So that's it? You're just okay with this? I hesitated. Because here's the truth I hadn't said out loud yet. I'm not okay, I said slowly. But I'm also not willing to be in a relationship where love feels like a performance review. She blinked. You make it sound transactional. It feels transactional, I replied. If I react big enough, I pass. If I stay calm, I fail. Silence filled the room again. Heavy. Different this time. Then she asked the question that changed everything. If I said I made a mistake, would you take me back? There it was. Not an apology. Not accountability. A hypothetical. And suddenly I understood something with brutal clarity. This wasn't about fixing us. It was about seeing if I'd finally jump when she said jump. And for the first time since she walked out, I felt the real weight of what choosing myself would actually cost. Because answering that question honestly meant I might lose her for good. She was still sitting there, waiting. The room felt smaller somehow. Like the walls had leaned in to hear what I was going to say. If I said I made a mistake, would you take me back? It should have been easy. 3 years together. Shared routines. Shared friends. Shared plans. But love isn't just history. It's direction. I sat across from her instead of next to her. Not out of distance. Out of clarity. Did you make a mistake? I asked. She hesitated. I just needed reassurance. That's not what you asked me. Her eyes flickered. She hated when I did that, answered questions with questions. But I needed to know if this was regret or just another test. She looked down at her hands. I don't know. That was the most honest thing she'd said all week. And somehow it hurt more than if she'd accused me again. I don't want to lose you, she added quickly. But I also don't want to feel like I'm the only one fighting. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. I don't want a relationship where one person threatens to leave to feel loved. Her head snapped up. I wasn't threatening. You packed a suitcase. Silence. You said breaking up might be best. More silence. And when I respected that, you called it failing. Her breathing changed. Shallow. Defensive. You're twisting it. No, I said softly. I'm finally saying it. The truth hovered between us. Ugly and undeniable. She wanted passion that proved possession. I wanted partnership that proved trust. Those aren't small differences. She stood up suddenly, pacing. So what, you're just done. I swallowed. This was the peak. The edge of the cliff. I booked a trip for us, I said quietly. She froze. What? 2 tickets. Italy. October. I was going to surprise you on our anniversary. Her face drained of color. You're lying. I walked to my desk, opened my laptop, and turned it toward her. Reservation confirmed. Florence. Her hands trembled as she read it. You were planning that? 4 weeks. She looked at me like she was seeing a version of me she'd never noticed. Why didn't you tell me? Because it was a surprise. A tear slipped down her cheek. I thought you didn't see a future. I was building one. The air felt heavy now, thick with everything unsaid over the past year. All the times she'd mistaken steadiness for absence. All the times I'd mistaken her insecurity for drama instead of fear. She closed the laptop slowly. I messed up, she whispered. There it was. Not hypothetical. Not conditional. Real. But something inside me didn't rush toward relief. Because now the question wasn't whether she regretted leaving. It was whether she understood why she left in the first place. And whether that part of her would ever stop needing to test the people who loved her. She stepped closer. I'm sorry. I believed her. That was the hardest part. And still, belief doesn't automatically rebuild trust. She reached for my hand. This time, I didn't pull away. But I also didn't hold on tighter. Because loving someone isn't the same as accepting the way they love you. And in that moment, I knew whatever I said next would decide whether we boarded that plane together. Or I flew alone. Her hand was warm in mine. Familiar. Dangerous. I'm sorry, she said again, like if she repeated it enough times it would rewind the last 72 hours. I searched her face, not for tears, not for guilt, but for understanding. Why did you do it? I asked quietly. She swallowed. Because I was scared. Of what? That you didn't need me. That landed differently. Not accusatory. Not defensive. Just exposed. She sat down again, slower this time. My last relationship was loud. Toxic. But he'd lose his mind if I even hinted at leaving. It made me feel chosen. I nodded. I already knew that part. But with you, she continued, everything is calm. Stable. And sometimes that makes me feel like I could disappear and nothing would shake. There it was. Not that I didn't love her. That I loved her without volatility. And she didn't know how to measure that. I don't want to be someone who has to threaten to leave to feel secure, she said. I hate that I did that. That was new. Accountability without deflection. I let the silence breathe. Love isn't proven by panic, I said finally. It's proven by consistency. I chose you every day. I just didn't perform it. She wiped her face. I know that now. The question hung there, heavy and unavoidable. So what happens, she asked. I looked around the apartment. At the life we'd built. At the space where her suitcase had rolled across the floor. I can forgive you, I said slowly. But I can't keep taking tests. She nodded immediately. Too quickly. I won't do that again. That's not enough. Her expression shifted, hurt, then confusion. You don't just need to promise not to test me, I continued. You need to figure out why you feel unloved without chaos. That's not something I can fix for you. Tears filled her eyes again, but she didn't look away. You're right. Another long pause. Do you still want to go to Italy? She asked softly. And that was the moment everything crystallized. 3 days ago, I would have said yes without hesitation. Now, I understood something bigger. The trip wasn't the future. The foundation was. I want to go to Italy, I said. But only if we're not using it as a bandage. She took a shaky breath. I'll go to therapy. Not dramatic. Not performative. Just steady. For the first time that week, I felt something solid under us. Not intensity. Not fireworks. Just possibility. I squeezed her hand, this time intentionally. We rebuild slowly, I said. No threats. No tests. If something's wrong, we say it. We don't stage exits. She nodded. Okay. And for the first time since that kitchen argument, I saw her not as someone measuring me, but as someone willing to grow. The plane tickets are still in my inbox. October 14th is still circled on the calendar. I don't know exactly what Florence will look like now. I don't know if we'll stand on some cobblestone street laughing about how close we came to losing everything. But I do know this. I didn't fail her test. I refused to take it. And somehow, that might have been the first real fight for us I ever chose to have.